Welcome back, guys, and for my Forester today, I am going to be fixing a problem that I should have fixed quite a long time ago, and that's my wastegate. If you remember quite a few videos ago, I had to kind of jerry-rig my wastegate in order to make things work. The turbo that I got has been working perfectly fine, no issues. It's just the wastegate was all sorts of messed up. So I got this wastegate on here, bent the arm so it fit onto here, had to put a nut on in order to get that on. The whole big deal. And since I did that, the only thing I've done is just put a little piece of rubber on here so these two wouldn't vibrate against each other. But the issue I'm having now compared to back then when I was over boosting like crazy, after I did this, now my only issue is when I'm going over 100 miles an hour, wide open throttle, I am still over boosting. So I got myself the Turbosmart internal wastegate. So I got this because, well, it's supposed to go on here apparently, but we'll see how that goes. It's got the adjustability down here, and it also has the adjustability of the spring on the inside, so I can take this off and put in a higher or lower poundage spring in here, which makes it a whole lot easier to get the boost that I want. And also it's going to be a lot easier when I do an e-tune on this car. It's going to make everything so much better. So let's get this thing off. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off this nut on here. Yours is probably going to be a little bit different, but just take it apart. All right, now that I have that bolt off, yes, it was a bolt and nut. Yes, I did fix this in a jank way, but I did fix it until now. That's off. Next, I am going to be taking off my little rubber piece setup here and the hose. There's a little vacuum hose right there. You just have to grab that, pinch it, take that off. And then the last thing we have to do is squeeze ourselves down here to where this bracket is. You can see there's one bolt down there. It's a bit of a pain, but we'll get it off. This isn't the actual bracket, obviously. You can see that doesn't fit. So hopefully I'll have a little bit better room and I won't have to use this to protect my new wastegate. And just like that, I eventually get it out. There it is in all of its glory. It's got 2 points on there, and I was only able to get one screw based on how I put this one in. So I only had to replace or take out one screw, which was the one back there. You can kind of see where the hole is on that turbo. That's where it's supposed to mount up, but that's as good as I could get. Plus this giant thing that I put in definitely doesn't help things out. So let's get rid of this guy and get the new one. All right, so first things first, I need to figure out how the heck this bracket goes on. This big old chunky piece of chunk. Maybe like that? I don't know. Life's too short. I'm taking off the intercooler. So much more room for activities. Okay, so I do have it placed in here, and it looks like this is how it's supposed to go, with the bend coming up this way, and with the arm, the long part goes across here, so it's like that C, and it goes across, and all the bolts actually line up perfectly, so it looks like you've got one hole down here, which lines up with this one right there, then you got a third one here, or a second one there, and then the third one is this one right down here. It looks like all those line up. The biggest issue, it looks like, is this big fat hose in my way. These, you can move those out a little bit so the wastegate can be smashed up in here, but this hose is really a big problem. Maybe sometime in the future I'll switch this out, but this is one of those shaped molded hoses that I can't really reroute. It'd be much better because it comes through here and it comes up back over here. It'd be better if it was routed up this way instead of down that way. I'm gonna see how this works. Hopefully I can just smash it in there, throw some screws in and move it, because this part don't have to move. This part has to move. This needs the room. And now I get my included hardware. Okay, scratch that. This does not come with included hardware for the bracket. Only included hardware to get the wastegate on the bracket they give you. All I have is one of these. Damn. No. What's in here? somewhere. Too long. Too short. Don't know what the fuck this is. What? Perfection. Closer. Huh, that looks familiar. All right, so I found some random old screws that fit in there. So I've got 1, 2, and 3. I've got all 3 of those hooked up in there. The bracket is solid as all hell, super thick, not going anywhere, fits perfectly. All the holes lined up perfectly. This guy, not a whole lot of room, but like I said, this guy doesn't need to move. I haven't screwed it in yet, but this guy is where it needs to be. The one thing I love about this one is this moves. You can move it wherever the heck you want, so you can get that vacuum line in there. Issue. Can you see where my issue lies? It's just not gonna fit, Captain. It's not long enough. Why? This is what you get when you work on your own car. All right, it has been a few days, and I figured out the hard way that it doesn't fit no matter what I do, so I need to put an extension. However, the extension part is quite difficult. You can find these at your local hardware store, but it's not the right thread. Turbosmart uses a very specific thread. It is a 1/4 inch by 28. Now, the best that you can get is a 1/4 inch by 20 at your local hardware store. For these are nut coupler, and then you have the threaded rod. Now, I had to order these off of Amazon because they're the only place that has this specific thread, 1/4 by 28. So $20 later, I can make this. I've already got the threaded rod in here, as you can see. I've got the threaded rod that goes up halfway on this. So now I can use this little extension to finally make it where it needs to be, and I can still use the threaded part on the wastegate to adjust this where it needs to be. You can't get these specific sizes besides 1 foot, 2, and 3 foot. So I got the 1 foot, cut it down with this. I also have an angle grinder, but I did this outside, so I had to use cordless. So I will link these down below if you need them. So let's get this dang thing on. And yet again, I had to do some more modifications to even get to this point. This has become a major pain in the butt. So the arm, I actually had to chop off part of the arm in order to get this extension on here because it wouldn't fit. So now that I chopped that off, I've got more room on here. I had to take that nut off, so I've got better room. So in order to get this where it needs to be, obviously this again does not fit all the way. It should be down here more. So you're gonna come right up to here until it is just aligned, so it can fall right in there. And then, according to the interwebs, I have to do 1, 2 turns, and that creates I don't know what you call it, back pressure or whatnot. I really don't care right now, but you're supposed to do it 2 full turns so you have enough to hold this closed when this isn't have any pressure to pop it out and give you some choo-choo. So 2 turns back, and then I gotta put this in, and then I gotta struggle putting the little horseshoe clip down here because that's just the way I have it. It has to go over the top and not the bottom because all this crap is in the way, and that's just not in the right place because nothing fits. Okay, so after about 13 days and 70 missing horseshoe clips and a few broken pieces, we finally get it together. So, had to cut this. I didn't want to. $200. I had to still chop this thing off in order to make this whole thing fit. So, because of that, I had it back like where I said I was going to put it, so it has some sort of back pressure or whatever the heck it's called. It's done. It's together. It's nice and snug. It's where it should be. But now I need to put everything back together. So I still have yet to put that hose back on there. Of course, the intercooler's got to go back on. This was supposed to be a 5-minute job. It turned out to be a whole thing. Thanks, Turbosmart. Okay, finally got everything back together. Got everything on here. Like I said, I got the horseshoe clip on here, finally, even after I lost. Anyway, finally got one on there. I had to cut that down to get that into place. I got the vacuum line on there, which strangely enough took forever. And then the intercooler on, which then I misplaced my gasket for the... Anyway, this took forever. So now comes the fun part and seeing if it actually works. And if it doesn't work, then I have to do some more stuff. So either adjust right here, possibly, or more likely change the spring out in here, which means removing this whole thing and doing it all over again. So we're gonna see what we're at. We're gonna jump on the inside. We're gonna do a few pulls. We're gonna do a few drive-in arounds. I'm gonna grab the access port and see what that entails. Stay tuned.